Okay, I had somebody ask me about how to set points on an Express. So this is, your regular Express motor. What you're going to have to do is take your cover that goes over your flywheel, take your cover off. You're going to have to remove the flywheel, which is this. It's held on by this nut. It's 14 millimeter. Should come right off, and when you loosen it, the magnets in here, the magnets in there are going to want to stick to everything, so it's a little tough to get off. I don't know how well this is going to pick this up, but right here are your points, and there's a gap in between your two contact breakers. And that gap should be roughly about 14 thousandths of an inch. And what you do to set that is you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're going to loosen this screw right here. And this is kind of hard to do one-handed. Well, actually, first of all, the first thing you're going to want to do is rotate the engine. It's easiest to put the nut back on there, and you rotate it counterclockwise until you can see them points open all the way. It's kind of hard to get on camera, but right about there, they're open all the way. And now what you're going to want to do is measure the gap in between there. And what I have is a brass feeler gauge. Now brass is nice because it won't stick to a magnet. See? Whereas regular metal will stick right to it. Brass won't. So therefore, whenever you're doing any kind of points, it's nice to have a brass feeler gauge, because that way you're not sticking anything. And what you're going to want to do is stick the feeler gauge right in that gap of the points, and it should be a slight drag to it, which this one is. Now if it's too loose or too tight, what you have to do is you're going to have to loosen this Phillips screw just a little bit, not much. Right? And then you're going to get a flat blade. The flat blade goes in this notch right here, and you turn it one way or the other to loosen or tighten. Like I said, you don't loosen that Phillips head screw very much, just a little bit. And you adjust by turning this one way or the other to loosen and tighten until your gauge just slides in between them points. And when you're done, you tighten the Phillips head screw back up. Go ahead and recheck it. Make sure that it's still where it's supposed to be. And if it is, your points are set. Not very hard. Doesn't take a whole lot of time. Probably the hardest thing to do is to be able to get that gap set just right. And when you're done, go ahead and take your nut back off. Take your flywheel, put your flywheel back on. It only goes on one way, because if you notice your little holes here are spaced a little bit different, and this one will only go on that way. If you try and put it that way, it won't go. Now it's kind of tough to put it back on, just because of the magnets in the flywheel will try and stick to everything. Get your flywheel back on, put the nut back on, and you should be good to go. It's not real hard. It's fairly simple.